It's great to see so many faces here virtually. Wish we could be in person. I see a lot of familiar faces from the workshop, and I see some new people too. So I'm Brian Keith. I just want to say hello. This is our second session in this virtual workshops. Next slide. So again, I'm Brian Keith, JHP. I'm joined by Zoe, who's somewhere. She might raise her hand on the window. Zoe's going to be doing most of the presenting. I'm the front guy here. And then Buck is also pretty integral. Buck Bacon with W&A Engineering, local civil firm, really a lot of insight into the community. And then our moderator, Christina Davis. She'll raise her hand. So all these sessions, basically we have presenters and moderators. Moderators, Christina is like our hall monitor. She's gonna keep us all in line. She's gonna go over some not rules, but some guidelines and suggestions here in a second. I do want to introduce some of our special guests you see down here. And I want to point out that this is a really open-ended, so please, everybody, we're looking for a guest bring their knowledge. We're trying to translate a in-person workshop charrette environment into a virtual. And so some of that fluidity and openness and just discussion, we want to capture it here online. So please just raise your hand. There's other ways, but I'll let people kind of say something about themselves or just raise their hand. But we got Rose West from Athens-Clarke County Trails and Open Space.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I work for Leisure Services, and I help supervise the operations and maintenance and programming on many of our in-town trails and those that are outside of the urban section of Athens. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy to help.
Great. Thank you. And please, like I said, jump in. Hey, tell us we're doing a great job. Tell us, hey, we're totally off track. A lot of this is still, we're trying to listen and gather information. So also Kent Kilpatrick, I believe, is here from Athens-Clarke County Leisure Services, I believe.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, good evening. Just wanted to say it's great to be with you this evening. We're staff is here, Rose, Kelly, myself, to answer any questions that we can. I'm blessed to be the director of the Leisure Services Department.
Well, thank you for joining us. And then Kelly Thomas, as you said as well, is here. I think Kelly is the facility supervisor for Lay Park, which is a big part of the community here. Kelly, if you're...
Yeah, that's right. I'm here.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Kelly. And Cameron Teeter from the Athens Land Trust is also joining us.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Cameron Teeter. I'm with the Athens Land Trust, where I'm the Community Agriculture Director.
Great. So we've got a lot of people with a lot of knowledge here joining us. So we're looking forward to this. I'm gonna let our hall monitor, Christina, kind of go over some things.
That's so embarrassing, but yes, I will. I'm gonna go ahead and just admit a few more folks to this session. I think a lot of folks have some experience with Zoom, given we're so many months into into COVID, but I want to go over a couple of different, logistics. So you can sign in. It would be really helpful. I think it's helpful for everybody to see who else is on the call quickly, and just the organizations or just however you're related to the project. So if you could just sign in the group chat, I think that would be really helpful for record keeping. And then also just wanted to make sure you're aware, I am recording this session. So if you do not want your living room recorded and posted live later, you can always take the video off. It's totally fine. So just want to make sure you're aware of that we want to make sure that anybody who really wants to look at these things later, couldn't make this late time, could still go back in and review all of the sessions in real time there with all the chat as well. Someone just asked actually if we were going to be posting the last session, so I hope that answers your question. They will all be posted on the website at the end of this virtual workshop series. We were going to do a raise your hand only. You can certainly do that. You can do that by waving in the screen. You could do that with any of the functions allowable within Zoom, but we're going to go ahead and have everybody entered on mute. We would ask that if you're not speaking, go ahead and mute your line. It helps with feedback and whatnot, but if you have something to say, just jump right in, okay? We're going to keep this pretty informal. And then just let you know that we've got about an hour, since I'm sure everybody has just like a crazy night planned after this. We want to try to be respectful and keep it to about an hour. So if you have a lot of information or some thoughts that you think are going to take up a little more time, we are more than happy to schedule one of these one-on-one and get in-depth interviews that way. So always reach out to us. You can do that via Facebook, the website. I'm going to sign in right now, so you can always just shoot me an email and say, I have a lot to say about composting, perhaps. We'd be more than happy to talk to you offline.
Hey, thank you, Christina. Again, we've mentioned a lot. We're going to mention a lot more. Our website, and I may even kind of show you at the end if you have a few times some of the things. And it's a work in progress. But hey, I want to point out that these are what ifs. So we're preparing a master plan, and everything we're showing you are possibilities and conceptuals. Nothing is set. Nothing is decided. We are listening. And if you were in some of our earlier sessions, we really have this mantra of listen, learn, design. So we are listening, we are learning now, and then we are designing, and it's a continuous loop. We will come back, we will come back. So I don't want anybody to think anything is decided or, or even proposal. We're talking more about possibilities, big ideas. And what these sessions represent are some of the main themes that have come up. And so, as I said, so this session is being recorded, and a lot of people were at the earlier stuff, but there's some people that aren't. So I'm going to briefly kind of go over some things just so it gets recorded for the record, because somebody, there's going to be a fair number of folks that might view this in the middle of the night in their pajamas, and they'll get an update. All of this, as we said, is being recorded. All the prior work is recorded on our website and is available for comment. But we are looking at this larger area of North Downtown Athens that's really centered on College Avenue as a spine, and Bethel Village and the Athens Housing Authority property at Hoyt and College. So those are kind of the key pieces. However, the study area is kind of shown in magenta, this line around it. It really is about how the greater area all works together, how we have interactions and connections, how do we connect to downtown, how do we connect to green infrastructure that we're going to talk about on this one, a lot of stuff going on. And so how do we connect to things happening in the neighborhood, and how do we improve the things in the neighborhood? And this is all part of a master planning. And really what we're doing is setting a vision and a guide for how things will develop. And we will go through a process. This will be done in phases. And let's go to the next slide, because it kind of talks about some of these phases. So December 2019, the 2020 SPLOS, the funding was approved for this study. And in January, we started some interviews, and actually February, we had in-person workshops and more interviews. And then, the world just turned upside down in the spring here. And we kind of tried to right ourselves and figure out how we could keep things moving. There's a lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of how do we do this? How do we decide that we kind of supercharge the website? We had a lot of technical meetings going on. We also conducted community surveys online, again, that are still there, still open for comment. And we did some in-person resident surveys at the Bethel homes, and we're preparing to conduct some in-person surveys at the College and Hoyt apartments. And so we will be moving into then some draft plans after this that take what we hear, convert them into master plan ideas, and then eventually October, November, sort of final draft, right? Or the plan that we will come back, present, and you'll hear me, it's kind of a running joke, and Christina might smile, but a lot of like, what does final mean, right? But
I'm biting my lip, like trying not to make the joke.
So, but we will come back for public input and present to the public, and then eventually all of this will be adopted by the mayor and council, either in later the year, perhaps in the beginning of the year. So formally adopted the master plan, but only after lots of input and bringing this back. And again, listen, learn, design. Next. So I just want to remind people, I see, again, a lot of familiar faces, people that were here, but just if you weren't, I want to let you know that we did, and we did jump into this with a lot of exercises. We did a community-wide focus workshop, and we did a resident-wide, and everybody was open to everything, but we tried to tailor them. We did a lot of these tabletop exercises where we had lots of stickers, and people talked about their needs and where things might go. We did a lot of these needs assessments. Key words kind of came up. that we kind of try to summarize in these word clouds. And these key words are really important because some things are kind of rising to the top that we keep hearing. And another fundamental thing that's important to understand is in all this, we had a lot of needs and wants and concerns and social services. And as we do this master plan, we're going to have to make some decisions, meaning the community, make decisions about what goes where and how much and what can be done in financial feasibility. Because literally, if you took everything that was needed or wanted, the whole site would be filled up. And it also wouldn't be financially possible. So there are going to be decisions made, location, needs. And so that's an important part of this process. Next slide. And so, again, as I said, we were hit with this, everybody was hit, right? We were with the COVID-19, the Corona pandemic. And it really, we had a website and we had ways out there, but we really had to recalibrate, reshift, like I said, supercharge, pop open the hood and see how we could tinker this thing and really make our website really, really important, that it's a hub. It's a portal for all our efforts, and it will be the framework as we move ahead. And we do plan to get back out in the community in some limited ways, hopefully outdoor and other ways, and socially distance as much as we can. But we have to be responsible. We have to be socially responsible to what's going on. But our website, important, www.ndathens.planning.com. Facebook page, Instagram, hashtag, tweet this out, gram it, whatever you want to do. But hey, let's spread the word. Next. And so after that workshop, what we really did is we started summarizing. So a lot of work has been done behind the scenes, and as urban planners and designers, we started graphically thinking about the things we heard and what they meant about where and linkages and connections. We heard historic grid. We heard we want connections to downtown. We heard, hey, leverage a lot of the stuff going on in Jackson Street Art Walk. We heard concerns about safety and walkability and arts and sustainability and all these kind of big what ifs that you see here started coming to the top. And the next slide. And then we continue to sort of kind of take this and in a graphic manner, start to think about not really a plan, but more bubbles and relationships of where things are. And with that, again, things started coming to the top, these big ideas. And these ideas have become the sessions that are taking place over the next 3 days of complete streets, College Avenue, and walkability, which we had earlier. And if you didn't miss it, or if you missed it, it's posted online shortly. You'll be able to go back and watch it. Open space and parks, which we're here now. And then tomorrow morning, we're going to be exploring the civic parcels, transportation and transit, sustainability and green in the afternoon, and then artlets and history on Saturday morning. And again, as urban planners, urban designers, we've been rolling out the paper both electronically and the old marker format, everything as well. And so we've been sketching and just what ifs. None of these are set, nothing. Everything is just throwing against the wall and see what sticks. Exploring these big ideas about where things could go, how they might go, ideas and what ifs, and anything's possible right now on paper. And so,
Can you translate?
Again, if somebody, a question, please interrupt. Wave your hand or
Surprise, it's me interrupting. I was
I'm not
gonna
surprised.
say, I was gonna say if you could, folks, just take a brief moment to say the difference between these. Basically,
Well, hey, the next one.
So can you just translate it so that people can see what we're looking
Yeah,
at?
the next one, we've been, again, we keep working on them and then listening to these ideas, and more ideas are going to come out, and this is going to turn into the master plan, the vision, the guide. But really, and again, all these are going to be posted. You can look at them in more detail because we've got limited amount of time, but some big ideas. And again, these are not limited or set or by any means, but the idea of open spaces and maybe a north-south orientation and creating better linkages across College Street at multiple points. How do we deal with, from an open space and green network with a lot of things going on? How do we add to this on some missing open space in the neighborhood that might be missing? How do we make connections to the stuff that is there and better link things? So next one. The idea of maybe more east-west promenades or lawns that connect some of these open spaces. And also with that, we can spread out crossing on College. So crossing isn't at one particular point, so we can reduce the amount of traffic. However, that was something that came out in our prior session. It's just safety and walkability is a really, really key concern on College Avenue. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Zoe and Buck, and they're going to talk about parks and open spaces. So again, thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you, Brian. Here is Zoe from JHP. So welcome to session 1, Parks and Open Spaces. So next slide. In the next few slides, we're gonna talk about some existing conditions for the park and open spaces. So I'm gonna switch it to Buck. You know, he from WA Engineering. He's local. He know more about the site.
So yeah, so we just kind of want to get you oriented. You can see on this slide the big yellow highlighted area. That's Bethel Village. You can see to the right hand side of the screen, item number 1. That's the North Oconee Greenway that runs along the North Oconee River. And then there's item number 2 on the legend. That's the Pulaski Heights Greenway Trail. And then item number 3 is Thomas Lay Park. You can see the playground there along Jackson Street, also the Linden House. And then one of the things that we thought we should explore is item number 4. That's the former Athens Line Railroad. And so we want to kind of think big picture, you know, are there some possibilities along the former rail line to open up some green space? Thanks, Zoe. And then,
Are there any questions about that image?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, you guys. There's got to be some questions, right?
You have to unmute yourself if you do want to say it. Go ahead, Melissa, and I think I see Helen.
That rail line, I recently heard that UGA purchased that rail line.
Yeah, that's correct, Melissa. Yeah, well, Athens Transportation Partners, but yeah, UGA Real Estate Foundation. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Any other questions or comments, things to add?
Follow up to Melissa's question, have they floated any plans for the use of that conservation area?
Not that I know of, but I know that there's been a plan thrown around out there for years for to keep it a transportation network, kind of like a mini rail to, you know, get people from one end of campus into downtown, an actual like on-campus rail, because it goes out towards Oconee County. It goes to the forestry school property out at Filcham's Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it passes the botanical garden and all that.
It actually goes all the way to Monroe.
Yeah.
Madison,
yeah.
excuse me, Madison. I mean.
Yeah, I don't know that they purchased the entire length of it.
Oh, okay.
Apparently at least this in-town portion.
And for what it's worth, the North East Georgia Commission cited that as one of their exceptional resources for the region, that railroad and its potential.
Good information.
Yeah,
Anything
thank
else?
you. That's great.
Yeah.
I can add one more thing.
Yeah.
If that's the rail line I'm thinking about, that's the one that traditionally had been kind of a barrier to the Greenway going through there. I'm trying to pull up my Greenway network plan map in my head, which I don't have it handy.
Hey, I've got it in front of me, Mel.
I got it, Mel.
So yeah, there is a connection through there. If I'm not mistaken, we tried to do it a few years ago, and we kind of hit a roadblock or a trail block, whatever you want to call it. But that's pretty interesting. So I'm gonna go back in my dark corner now.
Hey, Mel, this is Nat. You might add to the the situation that the east-west line, the CSX, is different than that railroad.
Yeah, and that's
different. Yeah, different in their approaches to public use of those right-of-ways.
Yeah, and Mel, we can talk offline about a couple ideas.
I look forward to it, Buck.
Right on. All right, so in this image, this slide, you can see the North Oconee Greenway, and that again, we kind of talked about that. That's to the east of the site. And then these are photos, images of the Pulaski Creek Greenway. You can see the image to the right is the entrance to the Greenway from Pulaski Street. And then you can see the boardwalk in the left image in front of the Athens Council on Aging. And what was interesting as part of our surveys, you can see here that one of the questions was, how often do you or a member of your household visit Pulaski Creek Trail or the North Oconee Greenway? And 56 people, 69% said never. But we also recognize that this is a really valuable community resource that we'd like the residents of Bethel Homes to have immediate access to.
Yeah.
Good point.
And Kelly, you may can weigh in on this. This is your home, right?
It is.
So you know, in this survey, how often do you or a member of your household visit the playground at Lay Park? And a majority of the folks visit often, either daily, a couple times a week, or a couple times a month. And one of the things that we talked about, you know, Kelly, you pointed out in the earlier session today, is the amount of students and young people who have to cross College Avenue to get to Lay Park without really protected crosswalks.
Right. If I could jump in as a teacher who works at Barrow Elementary School, where all the children who live at Bethel Homes go to school at Barrow, and they do a lot of after school programs at Lay Park. And I think anything that makes the walkability and the safety of access from anything at Bethel to Lay Park, I think that's really important. And I can't state that strongly enough, that it's really important that there's a safe way for kids to get back and forth.
Thank
I don't
you.
want to fish you on the spot. Sean, you were saying something last week about it, about seeing it from your window.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just to watch the kids cross the street, like it's a traffic issue. Actually, like the speed limit is, I don't even remember what the speed limit is, but it's a lot of people texting and driving, and they don't see the kids crossing the streets from the Bethel property over to, what is that, Strong Street, between the fire station and the hotel. Yeah, like that's a real bad spot, and how the trees are planted, like you really can't see anything under the hill. I guess that's what it is.
Yeah,
like there's a slope in the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, there. I mean, there are no children crossing signs or children at play. Like it needs more road signs and maybe a lit walkway, like a crosswalk, you know, to signal for the oncoming traffic to slow down. Like it's been like kids who crossed that street and have almost gotten hit by cars just because they didn't see them crossing. And there's been a lot of accidents right at Hoyt and at College Avenue, that crossing that crosses over to Lay. There's been a lot of accidents just because you can't see over that hill.
Yeah, I think you were telling me that you don't even, like, folks kind of don't even want to stay there at the bus stop because there's fear of.
Yeah, and the bus stop is actually located right at the corner of Hoyt and College, and yeah, it's not covered. It's not a safe distance from the road, and it's not really a safe distance from where those car accidents happen.
Right.
I mean, it's just something to look into, you know.
You're there watching.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Great input.
And I'll add also that the survey numbers that you have on your screen are certainly impacted by the lack of safety. We've heard over the years from parents, those numbers would be much greater if there was a safe way for their kids to be able to cross.
Definitely. And I strongly agree. And especially with a lot of the kids, they're usually dropped off after school from the school buses, but once the park is closed and the programs are, you know, done for the day, the kids are crossing the street, and it's, depending on the time of the year, it's usually dark. And where we are right now, the gates aren't accessible except at the front location at the entrance. But that's in a bad spot. And we had issues with that last year in the school year. Early in the mornings, and even with the kids getting from, you know, coming from school, getting off the school buses, there were cars driving around the school buses, you know, just because they didn't want to sit and wait where the kids were being dropped off. It was, I mean, it's dangerous and it's, you know, it's illegal. It's just so many things going wrong, you know, with college and the lake park, you know, just that walk or that drive. It's just, it's so many things.
So let's definitely dig into that more on the transportation call. I don't want to cut you off, but you know, you and I will talk some more. But I do think that
Christina, you might mention, you know, that ties into our transportation session tomorrow. We're going to look at school buses and everything. So great comments.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Buck.
No, that's great. That's great. So in this image, you can see the, this is looking south from Pulaski Creek Greenway to the CSX Railroad crossing. And then the former Athens rail line here at the, where it crosses East Broad Street. Next, yeah. Zoe, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, I can take about that. So here is what we found for the Athens and Greenway network plan. This is by the Athens Leisure Services. The dot area will show where our site is. Yeah, here's our site. So next slide. More. Yeah, you can see this is like a zoom in slide. Will show the brown is the existing, and then the yellow is proposed. So this plan will create a great network for the pedestrians. This is the Pulaski Heights Trail existing conditions, but you want to take it over?
Yeah. Sorry, it's raining, and so in the background, if there's a lot of noise, I apologize. So this image here, Pulaski Heights Trail, if you're familiar with the site, you can see the bridge that crosses Pulaski Creek that leads up to Pulaski Street. And then the image just below that, to the left of the screen, is the node in front of the Council on Aging. And you can see the pointer there that shows the connection with Barber Street, with Pulaski Street. You can see the green space that's in front of the Council on Aging, and that yellow line reflects the location of the existing greenway path along Pulaski Creek. And then to the right, that's the entrance to Pulaski Creek Trail from Pulaski Street that leads to the intersection of Hoyt and Hull and the Athens Community Council on Aging. And in this image here, to the left, you can see the green space along Pulaski Creek, and in yellow, the Pulaski Creek Greenway, and in relation to Bethel Village. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, there's an image of Hull Street, the street view of Hull Street, and you can see the area to the right that's highlighted in red. That's kind of a environmentally sensitive area. There's a local 75-foot riparian buffer there, and it's something that we see as an opportunity to create some potential water quality or other environmentally friendly, low impact development.
Hey, and Buck, you might mention on that topography is also the challenge of extending the trail.
Yeah. So that's great. Thank you, Brian. Yeah. So as Nat and I kind of spoke about on the earlier session, you know, the Greenway master plan shows the Pulaski Street Greenway, or Pulaski Creek Greenway, leading up along Pulaski Creek in terminus between Guinea Towers and the church. But there's also some topographic challenges to that. So in a little bit, we're going to kind of explore maybe some opportunities.
Thank you.
I'm going to translate. So, Sybil, you are so good at speaking, but he's saying that if the path goes down along the creek, it's going to be really steep and hard to get out. And so we're going to bring it up on Hull as the proposed concept. How's that sound?
Our idea.
Yep.
And let's say this is Nat. This is Nat. And by the way, I'm with the Greenway Commission, advisor to the Mayor and Commission. And Mel and I walked that just a few years ago. And Mel, correct me if I'm wrong, we came to the same conclusion that coming up alongside Hull might be the best solution for bringing it up to get to Doherty and the connection to downtown.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And we met with our ACC, some of our engineering staff there, and talked with our Transportation and Public Works Department. And they were on board with that concept, but it will be a little pricey because it's going to require a fair amount of retaining walls, and then some other segments up through there will need to be boardwalk because of the sensitivity of the area. So it's a fairly expensive project for a short section, but a very important connection.
And of course, too, again, if we can get under the railroad, under the CSX line, and get right-of-way from them to continue on to Cleveland Avenue and to College, that would be great as a potential safe route for people to take over to the main North Oconee River Greenway.
Yeah, and Mel, some of our thoughts were that this would really give some access to the residents of Bethel Village to the Greenway.
Oh, absolutely. That would be a really great connection and a really great access.
And I think the Hoyt Street connection too, if that were improved for pedestrians and cyclists, could be part of that, you know, gathering of people to get to the Greenway.
Yeah, and then you know, yep. Next slide. That's awesome. So this is Thomas Lay Park. Kelly, can you kind of give us a little backstory on Lay Park and your interest?
Yeah. So just make sure I'm unmuted. But yeah, so I've been working at Lay Park for 2 years now, but I've been with the county for 8, working at East Athens as well. But we get high usage. More than half of our participants for everything from after school to our any program, especially open gym, I would say is a lot. So we get a lot of traffic coming from Bethel, either using our basketball gym. We have a fitness room that we also have. We have a library that's a part of the local branch that also gets access. Outdoor basketball courts. So we get a lot of kids and adults making that trek crossing College over to Lay Park.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Zoe, the next slide.
Here is Zoe again. I think I will talk about some big ideas, what ifs for what we're thinking. As you can see from the overall intro, so we will have like 2 main ideas. So this is the idea 1. So the green spaces showing in the map is existing, like Pulaski Creek on the west, Lay Park on the east, and also the conservation area. It's sort of like 3 main green spaces. And also we have existing Pulaski Heights Trail. We have the proposed path corridors and the multi-purpose trail as shown as the dashed arrows. And also we have the proposed Jackson Street Art Walk. So they are trying to create a city-wide network. So on the big idea number one, we're thinking they might have two main green spaces which run through north to south and connected the two separate parcels from the Bethel Village to and the Housing Authority property. Here is the lowest point of the site, like Buck said, there might have a chance we put the neighborhood water quality control area here. It can be well designed, nice landscaped. Here are the proposed pedestrian-friendly connections throughout the site. So it tried to connect all the city network together and then create a more walkable and pedestrian-friendly environment. There also may be some chance, like we can design some notes, like for the overlook area, like the blue dots showing, can overlook the wetland, and it has nice benches or like gazebos so people can see there. And also we're thinking maybe have a chance to have community gardens and a composting center. When we were in the February workshop, people talk about community gardens a lot. So I think the residents really like this idea. The idea number two, is still like big ideas, and mainly is same. The difference is, the green space running east to west. So it tried to connect the Pulaski Heights Trail, the whole street, and the College Avenue and Jackson Street artwork together. This is kind of like same idea, overlook area, composting, community gardens. Those, like Brian said, those are just what ifs. It's nothing set. So feel free to give us any comments.
Yeah, I was going to just suggest maybe right now pause and see if there's anybody has any reactions to either of the plans you just presented.
Yeah.
I don't think that the residents are too big about a community garden. I mean, it's a good idea. It's mostly like the elderly, so something that's like raised, I guess, like a raised garden would be fit. Something that's not too backbreaking. It seems to spark more interest in the seniors off the Buffalo property than the younger crowd during the surveys.
We also just got a couple comments I'm going to go ahead and share. I think, Kisha, and they're kind of echoing a little bit of what you just stated. So, yes to raised veggie gardens, but that we do also have those at Barrow Elementary, and want to be able to provide that access to the children on that side of things. And then community garden is too far away from the homes, the way it's currently shown. Maybe have them closer. It looks like I'm having to readmit people they're dropping off because of the storm. So maybe have them a little closer to where people are actually living was another one.
It's great comments.
There's not already an energized community garden group to make sure that it's closer to the actual residents and not tucked away. I know that Council on Aging actually also has some gardens there that are not frequently used either. And so I think I also see the same thing. Melissa noted that the garden and compost are too far from the actual hub of residents. One thing I just want to share is that, what we find is it is not if you build it, they will come. Often you need a champion, and they need some type of organization around it, at least in the beginning. Someone that's leading and teaching and providing just kind of that sense of community. Just building them, often they don't get used. Melissa, you were still raising your hand.
Yeah, I had the same thoughts about the community garden being too far from the residences. I fear that it won't get used if it's too far away and not very visible, especially when it comes to composting. You want that to be pretty accessible.
Oh, yeah.
And you want people to be able to, run out and grab a tomato or something, pick. So I also want to mention that, gardening, organic gardening is permitted in the riparian buffer, so that could provide some opportunity for the gardening. And also I wanted to point out that those parking lots, that there's about 2 blocks worth of parking lots in front of Lay Park, which includes the property where the little playground is. It's highly likely that that whole area would be redeveloped sometime in the foreseeable future. So it might be worth at this stage of the game looking at bringing the playground into the Bethel Homes area itself, because I think you want the playground on site as well, so parents can send their kids out to play knowing that they're not, more than, a half a block away. So I just wanted to mention those things.
Hey, those are great comments. I see some hands too.
I just want to speak to both the playground and the school garden. I teach at Barrow, so I've been there for almost 15 years, and I've been the gardener there, and I've worked with so many kids in the garden. And I think ideally what I would like to see at Bethel is like 2 raised beds that are near the playground, and they need somebody from that's either from Keep Athens or County Beautiful. They need a gardener who's going to come check in on that. So not a lot, something small, something that kids could access, something that we close to where people live, and not a lot, and something that could even just be growing the same things that we're growing at our school garden. Something small to start out.
I'm hearing getting in the chats, I'm seeing some talk about getting the Athens Land Trust involved.
How about
Yeah, sorry, I lost my I lost my power, I lost my internet, so I missed a little bit. I just got back in, sorry, but it looked like it sounds like good timing. So we kind of, obviously we work with, we're a nonprofit, so we work under grants. We're kind of finishing up a community garden grants, going to be end of September, but we have a couple still out there that we have applied for. So we have a community garden network. We have about 14 community gardens all around Athens. So most likely we would have some funding to continue expanding that community garden network. And, we'd love to be part of that, to bring that to this, to this plan. So hopefully everything plays out right in the right timing. We'll have some funds to do that. And, I'm connected with that group through, master gardener programs and just volunteer groups. That's one of the things I try to do is connect people that are interested in gardening to be stewards to some of these gardens. So, yeah. Hopefully that'll work. Yeah.
That's a great insight.
I'm going to back up a little bit. I see one of the comments I think is really good is to perhaps present 1 and 2 look very similar in terms of the overall plan, and could we see what a plan option would be that maybe had smaller pocket parks than either the centrals or the linear?
Yeah, we have some slides.
And I think Ken had his hand up.
I did just want to I wanted to make a quick comment about the playground. While I agree with Commissioner Link that a playground within the Bethel home area itself would be extremely valuable, I wouldn't want that to be at the expense of a playground at Lay Park, because of our after-school programs and our summer camps and a lot of our programming components that aren't part of that survey. That playground gets heavy use by children who are registered to be participants at Lay. So if there was a way we could develop one at both sites, that would be our ideal situation.
Good point. Good, thank you.
One of the questions that we asked in the resident survey, and that we will continue asking, is really kind of what are we talking about? Playgrounds are, there's a lot of different options out there. Is it for big kids? Is it for little kids? Is it a tot lot? Is it a combination, Melissa? I think what you stated, I'm a mom of 2. I like to sit in the shade while my kids are playing, if I'm not actively playing with them, right? But also if there's some raised beds, if there's something else going on there. I've done some work where we put, fitness equipment there, but, you know, I was talking with Kishan and Latasha the other day, like, yeah, but are people going to use that? You know, is it also in the blazing sun, right? I mean, there's a lot of things to think about. But I think you're right, Kent. Like, I don't think it should be at the either or. I think it should be an and. All right, Zoe. I think we
next, yeah. This slide shows some Pulaski Heights Trail street sections. The solid arrow shows existing. So we have the Pulaski Trail on the west of the whole street. There is a existing sidewalk on the west side of the street. So like what we talked about before, there maybe have chance we extend the Pulaski Trail all the way to the north, you know, go under the bridge, or we can extend the existing sidewalk to make it 10 feet concrete or paved sidewalk connected to the Pulaski existing trail. So here are some ideas of what the street can be. I know there, like we said, there's like a lot of topos and maybe a little bit pricey for the retaining wall, but the view would be great. Next. Here's just some ideas of what you know, the Pulaski the trail, the extension can be. Here's just some examples more. As you can see, this might be, you know, the Council of Aging at the end, and we can have a nice designed sidewalk. Is wide and safe, and it has green buffers, and also has the wood area at the background. So on the right is just some example for what the neighborhood can be maybe in a few years. Here are some ideas of like the community gardens. I mean, like we said, the location may be too far from the neighborhood, you know, but those are just ideas, and we can move it maybe to the neighborhood closer. We can integrate it to the central green area or the pocket park. Next. This is like some example for the composting centers. It will be next to the gardens, and they're close and easy to use. Next.
I want to pause on that just as a composter. I think that the contained tumblers, if you're looking at setting these up in multiple locations, and just also from a property management perspective, I personally, I'm just going to vote. I'm not living there. I vote tumblers though. Unless the land trust or there's a larger partnership at Lay Park, there's a larger facility or something like that. But I think at a small scale, tumblers is the way to go.
Yeah, for the smelly issue, yeah. I think we talk about a lot of the Jackson Street art walk. Here's the proposed plan. What you can see is at the end, so the Hoy Street kind of like end at the college, at the intersection, and then they reroute the road to the south, you know, and that kind of like combine the playground with the main park together. Here, that's the existing playground. Here are some examples of what, you know, the playground can be, because the playground is next to the Jackson Street Art Walk. That might be the good chance, you know, we can cooperate with the local arts to integrate some art sculptures into the playground, showing as a interesting start point. Next. Sorry.
Are there comments on those slides? We were just kind of clicking through a lot of imagery. I'm curious if folks have any reactions to it. I hate it. It's weird. It's interesting. I'll come to the art lit session to learn more.
I'm interested in an art-oriented playground. You know, the Linden House lost a big giant tree, so there's a big bald spot on their front lawn, and it would be really cool to have a kind of an art-oriented playground in that spot.
That's the big, Melissa, you're talking about the big oak in the front?
Yeah, yeah, that giant oak. So there's a big old blank spot, like right at the, what is it? I guess that's the southwest corner of
Southwest corner.
property.
Yeah.
I'll put a plug in for our Saturday morning. We've got specifically a session on arts and culture and artlets and how to integrate them. So
yep, I plan on checking in on that.
If I could say one thing about the concept around this playground is that one of the things that I think is really exciting about this location for a playground is having a playground kind of integrated with community space, with a larger community space, can really make it a lot more alive rather than have a playground all by itself, kind of in, you know, the middle of a lawn. You know, we've seen so many of that. And the idea here is that we could bring multiple generations together and just make it adjacent to a whole lot of other things going on, and just almost blend that playground into the whole art experience there. And the other thing with that proximity to the Lay Rec Center is there's the opportunity. I remember seeing this idea where kids could check out piece blocks and things to create their own playground. You know, that's not something you can do if you have a standalone playground. If you have a rec center next to the playground, there's so many opportunities for having that support and being able to bring play equipment, you know, out from the rec center into the playground, like chess pieces or, you know, these modular pieces where kids could create their own playground. So there's just a lot of adjacency there that I think could be really dynamic and interesting.
I was going to point out adults play too, so I really like that you mentioned, you know, the checkout. And as you were saying it, I was like, man, that'd be so cool to go get some chess pieces or whatever. I also wanted to just point out, there's some good chat coming on. Somebody has asked if we could hear from Kelly and others to know some known needs from Lay Park and maybe how the redevelopment can augment or supplement there. And then there was another great comment. Can we see any new, you know, any playground equipment actually get input from children, which I think is a fantastic idea. Is ask the users, right? So I'm gonna pause on that and say Kelly and Kent, you know, just some known needs as things are changing around Lay Park.
I can kick it off. I do like the idea of the art walk. I think it brings a different dynamic to it. I would just want to see more concepts of the whole art playground. I don't know if that really, for what our kids, I would just have to see a concept of it to get a better understanding of it. It does seem a lot different from, I agree, it would be nice to get a new playground, but just want to see that out better to understand how it would be used for the programs that we already offer. The main thing as far as needs that I see is making sure that we remain connected to this whole project. I don't want to see a lot of redundant to where I know there'll be a community center built down in Bethel as well, but we want to make sure that we kind of keep them separate to where we're not repeating the same amenities. However that works, but just making sure that the big thing is them being able to get to Lay Park easier. I think that will open up. We get a lot of use from Bethel, but I know there's still hesitancy from parents not wanting their kids to cross over to come over because transportation is sometimes an issue, or if parents they don't want the younger kids coming over. And then a lot of times also we have younger kids that are crossing that walk that can be as young as 4 and 5, crossing with a 7 or 8-year-old across to come play on the playground or play basketball in the gym. So that is a concern of mine. I do think if we lose our playground, that would totally impact a lot of the things that our operations totally. We've talked about moving the playground to behind Lay Park. If that was an issue to where we did lose our parking lot, but it would severely impact a lot of our operations if we were to lose that.
You know, that's interesting too, because if that did occur, that would also lose that adjacency that she was just talking about, of kind of that.
And it seemed like it would lose their art playground as well if they build a structure right in front of Lay Park. It would no longer even be visible to a lot of people.
So I want to pause and also just read some of the comments. I think elementary students being partners in the playground planning discussion is a good idea. It's something that was raised. And then there was a question from Rose about, you know, if there is a playground inside the Bethel property, is it for just residents and guests, or is it open to the public? And so I want to just directly address that, because I know that this can be a little confusing, but any bit of the SPOS dollars that are expended in the project must be public infrastructure. So if a park goes in and it is a public park, then clearly it's for the general public. If a playground is put in as a resident, there will be resident only amenities. You know, it would be typical that maybe there's a small fitness center or things like that. But Kelly, there's been no real firm discussions on the programming within those, because we have to meet with residents and go through that whole process when we get master planning done, right? So it's kind of this trailing effect. But I would just say at this point, we don't really have solid building program plans. So I haven't heard of a community center in the traditional sense for large meetings and things like that. I would definitely not want to duplicate. Lay Center already has, Lay Park's got a huge space. And we've been fortunate to use it before COVID. And so I think that whatever we do, we need to just stay in close contact so that we can make sure that we are not duplicating what's right there. That's what really knits the community together.
I have a question about looking at the plan here, and on my screen it's a little small. I see at the parking area, you've got relocate the parking as part of that.
Hey, the first thing, let's just point out that this this is not our plan, by the way. This was done, and others can elaborate. We're just incorporating what has already been done in the neighborhood.
Yeah, this is Scott from the proposal for the Jackson Street Art Wall.
Right. And I remember that it talked about relocating parking, but it was still in that area. And if I'm remembering, Helen, when I looked at that design, there was still parking there. It was just in a friendlier kind of a configuration for the community center, and how everything worked. It reduced some of the traffic impacts and made for safer pedestrian connections. So it's not like relocated, gone. It's just reconfigured. Is that, am I remembering?
Right, yeah, we swapped. Right now, the playground is separated from the Lay Rec Center by a parking lot. So what we proposed was putting the playground next to the Lay Center and relocating the parking lot on the other side, so that the playground will be right next to the Lay Rec Center, which makes so much more sense.
Yeah, I really like that when you came and talked to us about it. So that's what I just wanted to be clear, that when I'm looking at this plan, it looks like the parking lot's going away, but it's really not. It's
not going away. It's just a reconfiguration.
Yeah, okay.
For the sake of time, as a hall monitor, I want to say that I know, Kirshan, you raised your hand. So I want to make sure that you get a chance. There's also a time check here at 7:47. And so in honoring anybody who does need to jump off, please feel free to do so. I think we're going to continue. It's a good, lively discussion, but I just wanted to let you know that we're not going to judge you if you need to jump off now. And everything will be online for you to look at later. So with that, Kirshan.
What I had was first the playground located on the Bethel property. It would be nice if it had something that's temperature friendly, because even the most beautiful days, they can't play because it's too hot. It's outdated, and it's not used for this. They're getting burned, just in the middle of the day, just not to play. And something that would be.
So your audio is messing it, maybe because that rain storm that's coming in. It's
Yeah,
been,
it's raining bad out. I don't know what's going on. Are you able to hear me now?
I can hear you a little bit better, but I think what I heard is that the current playground, and I've taken many photos and sat there waiting in the community room to open, that it's currently in, there's no shade. I mean, that's the first thing you notice, there's no shade there currently.
Yeah.
And it's not really pleasant for that reason. There is, you know, we have a trash problem in general that we're trying to get a hold of, but making sure that you have receptacles and stuff there. Is that something that you said?
Yeah. And also it's like the located over lane. Like most parents, but some parents don't go to the lane because there isn't enough seating. Like, you know, maybe they want to just catch up on some sport or just football, the kids playing. It's just not enough seating while the kids are playing out there. I don't know if you hear me. I don't know.
It was a little hard.
Were you able to hear me? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what's on. And it's storming out.
You can text me or chat, and I can make sure we get that
Okay.
record.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Or maybe it's better if you turn off the video. I don't know if that will help, but we still can hear you.
Let's try that.
Could you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds better.
I think it's just because of the storm.
No, talk.
You can hear me?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Yeah, you sound fine. And now you're not talking? All right, I'm gonna get with her. I'll text her.
Here we're gonna do some sketch explorations for the neighborhood public lawn and the commons. So as you see for our previous ideas, we have north, south, main green spaces, and we have east and west ideas. So next.
And I think that idea of us exploring, again, those aren't limited, but really exploring the idea of smaller spaces is a great idea.
Yeah, here are some just examples of the big lawn, what they look like, what they can be. You know, they can have like structures or like seating areas. It can hold the community events. So a lot of things can happen there. Next.
What are some reactions to those?
I like the idea of having lots of small outdoor pocket spaces, almost like every building in the community would have its own little front lawn gathering space. And it doesn't have to be big, just something that's big enough for a picnic table or two or a bench and plenty of shade. I think that's what's super important. I mean, because we've got blazing sun most of the year here.
Yes.
Okay, so if we go next slide, you will see we have a survey. Next. We have a survey says what type of space would your family utilize? 60% people prefer, sorry, this is talk about the kids play area. Yeah, we have slide talk about the pocket park in the open space of the survey.
I think the general idea is that we are trying to get some polling of existing residents. Clearly the site's going to hold more than just the existing Bethel residents, but we are trying to get a feel for where some preferences would be. Seems split. I mean, we've got a lot of children on the site.
Yeah, see, that's the survey we got. Like 61% people prefer several smaller green spaces, rather than 38% people like the large open spaces.
Oh, so that was the resident survey, and then we're hearing very similar things from the folks on this call. That's really interesting.
Yeah, here's some ideas how we integrate the artlets to the pocket park. They can create a different theme, different interesting areas for each different group, small groups. Next.
So Zoe, so the artlets, it may seem like kind of a fancy word, but it's something we're going to introduce. It's an idea that we've used before in some of our communities and planning. This idea of combining parklets with art and just kind of merging them. And then artlets can also express social history and the cultural of a neighborhood. And just, it can be as small as a mural or a sculpture or integrated into art into a playground. So it's just this idea of integrating arts and history into public spaces and parks.
Yeah, here are some other ideas for the pocket park. So like we have got interesting survey, like do you currently exercise regularly in Bethel Village in the downtown area? Like about 45 people said I work out at home in my house or apartment. So there might be have chance we just integrated this exercise area into our small pocket park, like the right bottom corner, you know, the senior can exercise there. And also there may be a little kids playground next to it. So for parents, you know, they have different spots. And also for pocket park, it doesn't need to be, you know, exercise. It can be a seating area to host small group gatherings for the neighborhood people, or maybe some just interesting painting to highlight the theme of that courtyard. So you create the identity of that group. Next. Okay, any comments?
So any kind of questions? I mean, did we hear you guys? I do want to say that I've been following the comments over here to the side, and there's great comments. And that's all going to be recorded. We're going to go through these and really appreciate it. We've got names and we can follow up. But I've seen just some amazing comments coming through here.
There's certainly a theme of small and shade and not duplicating and really listening to residents and children in the design of the open spaces. Before we hop off we're only 10 minutes over. That's not really that bad. It just feels late. Yeah, are there any other comments though from Kelly or Kent or any of our special guests? Are there green spaces and concepts around green spaces and parks that we should be looking at this early stage that we have not mentioned?
You know, I think it's really important, again, to have direct access to the Greenway, the North Oconee River Greenway, as a place of nature and contemplation and physical enjoyment that people can have. And it's great that that's so close by to this location.
Yeah, thank you.
I might add also, pocket parks are a wonderful thing, and I think they would be well received in this community. I would make sure that they're very maintenance intensive. So I would want to make sure that you put together a very good maintenance plan on how you stay on top of those and how do you maintain turf instead of those just becoming pockets of dirt that people have worn out. And sometimes the combination of shade and a lot of foot traffic can take care of the turf really quick. So a very good maintenance plan would be important in order for them to be successful, but they have great potential if that's in place.
That's some good feedback. You're correct, shade.
Hey, can we point out just this, what's up on the screen here? This is our second session. We got 3 tomorrow. So I just want everybody to know things are coming up. Some of these ideas are getting explored in more detail. Everybody's welcome. Please go. But I really, really appreciate all the comments. We had a great kickoff session before this, and I was wondering if we could do better, and we've kind of upped the ante again. This was some great discussion tonight.
I do want to just ask that anybody here, please feel free to email us more thoughts. I mean, the idea is that this is the start of a conversation, not, okay, we met with everybody for an hour and so we're done. And so please contact us, say, I was thinking about this, like something just popped in my head. I don't want to hold it up too long, but what are the spaces that seniors want to hang out? We have talked a lot about children and playgrounds and pocket parks and families, and I heard mention of one senior, like grandparents maybe want to be able to watch their kids too, but what else? And so maybe thinking on that for a little bit too. Please share sessions that are upcoming. And please, you know, like I said, please feel free to reach out to us anytime.
Thank you to our special guests too, and everyone. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks so much. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Remember online comment.
Y'all don't get wet. I'm going to save the chat.
Yeah, stay dry, safe.
Stand dry.
All right, I will see y'all tomorrow morning.
All right. Talk to you then, Christina.
We'll see you.
See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.